Hello, go back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got lots of news to brief you on today. We're going to start off with this first story on your screen as Ukrainian drones targeted yet another Russian military airfield, this time down in the Krasnodar region of Russia. This is like southwestern Russia, and this is the Krymsk military airfield. Okay, there's a city in southwestern Russia in the Krasnodar region called Krymsk. That's where this military airfield is located. This video footage that you're watching was some man who was standing outside not too far away from the military airfield near the city of Krymsk, and looks like a drone was potentially taken down just above him, and this explosion was so massive that it knocked him to the ground as he was smoking his cigarette, just hanging out here. So pretty crazy. We'll talk about that some more today. Definitely a major attack. And also Andriy Kovalenko, the head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, apparently he said that this attack directly hit the Krymsk military airfield as well. But the Russian officials are coming out and downplaying it, say it wasn't really under attack, that if anything, most or if not all of these drones were taken down. So we'll talk about those details here in just a moment. Also, inside of Ukraine, over the last 24 hours, major attacks to be reported, especially inside the city of Odessa. Looks like we had another residential building that was directly hit by a Russian Shahed drone. So we'll be talking about attacks inside of Ukraine again today. And then also a phone call apparently between Olaf Scholz, the German chancellor, and Putin took place today also. And apparently Volodymyr Zelensky was not too happy with that phone call and was trying to urge Olaf Scholz not to make this phone call. Apparently during this call, Olaf Scholz told Vladimir Putin basically to negotiate with Ukraine, move towards peace, also withdraw his troops, also reiterating that the German government will continue to support Ukraine, although they are having a political and also economic crisis in their country, that they will support Ukraine until the end. So we'll talk more about that phone call today as well, and I'll give you guys an update from Dmitry Peskov, out of the Kremlin spokesperson, also claiming that basically there was no agreements that were made between Vladimir Putin and Olaf Scholz. Okay, so we'll talk about that some more as we move through this video. So let's go ahead and hop into the news here. We're going to start off on Ukrinform real quick. I'm going to show you guys this article talking about this attack. Then I also have some maps to show you guys where this airfield was located. So we'll talk about this first, okay? So it says here, Russia says UAVs attack their military airfield in Krasnodar territory. Okay, this just coming out today, November 15th, 2024. Kamikaze drones attack Krasnodar territory, targeting a military airfield overnight Friday. This is the video coming out. I will show you guys that here in just a little bit. It says right here, it is noted that the drones were likely attempting to hit the Krymsk military airfield, as local residents reported multiple explosions in the area. The head of the Krymsk district in Krasnodar region, Sergei Les, initially announced that 46 UAVs were shot down overnight and there were no civilian casualties, before deleting the post without any explanation, Astra wrote. And it says here, subsequently, Governor Veniamin Kondratiev commented on the drone swarm reported in the region, saying 2 municipalities suffered from the UAV attack. He noted that drone debris allegedly plunged onto the premises of 4 households in Krymsk and in the Krasnoarmeyski district, damaging several homes. No casualties were reported. So there is some information showing that some of these drones that may have been downed, or maybe they struck inside the city, who knows, in the city of Krymsk. Apparently, we had a few homes that were destroyed or hit by some of these incoming drones from Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Defense said 36 UAVs were shot down over the Krasnodar territory. 51 Ukrainian UAVs were intercepted and destroyed by conventional air defense capabilities. 36 UAVs over the territory of the Krasnodar territory, and 3 over the territory of Crimea, 2 over Belgorod region, and 10 over the waters of the Sea of Azov, the ministry reported. So it looks like it was a pretty heavy attack last night, probably over 100 drones being fired from Ukraine, targeting multiple regions, not only the Krasnodar region of Ukraine, especially where this military airfield is located at. So we're going to go ahead and hop over to X now. I got a couple videos to show you guys and some maps where this is located at. So Special Kherson Cat, tonight drones targeted Russian military airfield in Krymsk, Krasnodar region of Russia. Russians claim that 50 to 60 drones were used. Results of the attack are yet unknown, 330 kilometers from the front line. So we got our first video here that's going to show a woman talking. You'll be able to hear some brief gunfire in the background as well. This other video is going to show heavy gunfire trying to take down these incoming drones from the Russians, and then also a couple maps to show you guys as well. So let's go ahead and jump into this first video.
Ебать! Это дрон. Слышишь, как будет? Слышу! Ебать, прям на хату летит, прикинь. Да ебать, да сбить его нахуй. Это... Охуеть. Ебать. Это что? Это дрон. На нахуй. В дом. Ебать. Это дрон.
Okay, so just towards the end of that video, you could definitely see some sort of drone was taken down in the skies. Looks like just to the left over here of where the angle of this camera is facing, we can see gunfire right here. Definitely some drones were in the skies that the Russians were trying to take down, according to this video. So we've got one more coming up to take a look at.
Капан.
All right, pretty insane video right here. We can see lots of gunfire into the skies trying to take down these drones. Looks like one was intercepted right there. So most likely these drones probably did strike this airfield if this gunfire is so close. This is most likely coming from the Krymsk military airfield as these anti-aircraft guns were trying to take down these drones. So again, we don't know for sure if anything was hit. I haven't seen any confirmation or anything like that. But maybe that information will come out soon. We'll see what happens. Maybe satellite images will come out here soon in the next probably 48 hours. So this is where it's located at, down here in the Krasnodar region, southwestern Russia, close to Crimea also, okay? So the Krasnodar region is frequently attacked. We've reported this region coming under attack probably dozens of times already, but this is kind of where it's located down here, close to the Black Sea. Here's a close-up image as well. Here's the city of Krymsk, and then also this airfield right here. This is the airfield that supposedly came under attack last night. So we'll see if we get some more information later. Maybe some reports will come out showing some major damage at this airfield. But based on the video that we saw, it looks like many of them were being taken down in the skies, okay? So definitely a heavy attack of drones last night from the Russians. So now we're going to move on, from the Ukrainians. So now we'll move on to NOAA reports. Russian losses per November 15th, 2024, reported by the Ukrainian General Staff. So it looks like we had 1,520 Russian losses of infantry, 11 tanks, 21 AFVs, 20 artillery pieces, 20 AD systems, 34 UAVs, and 1 cruise missile. So the number that I've been really watching, the reason why I've been showing you guys these reports almost daily, is the troop losses, okay? What we have seen for sure over the last week, week and a half, is right around 1,500 losses or more every day. I think we had one day, just the other day, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where we had up to almost 2,000. I think it was like 1,950 soldiers that were lost. So the Russians definitely are taking heavy losses right now. We have been seeing a lot of this, and I have another video to show you guys from a Russian soldier, part of a unit. It looks like majority of his unit was wiped out. And we have seen so much of that recently, possibly indicating that this is true, that Russia really is taking heavy losses right now. As we know, their offensives are for sure picking up, and it would make sense as Russia's going to try to take over as much territory in Ukraine and also push Ukraine out of the Kursk region. Before Donald Trump gets into office, it definitely seems like a major goal for the Russians right now, especially coming from Vladimir Putin. So we're going to keep an eye on this number every day as much as we can and see if we can see any major fluctuations in the amount of losses of troops, and then based on the information we're able to find for you guys, see if we can correlate that and see if there's any correlation in between the amount of troops being reported lost and then the videos that we find or information showing that, okay? So also from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, Russia does not stop shelling Ukraine, terrorizing our regions, peaceful cities, and communities. Over the past 24 hours, the occupiers have been shelling the Donetsk region, where a drone strike claimed one life, along with Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhia, Mykolaiv, Kharkiv, Luhansk, Kherson, Sumy, and Cherniv regions. using artillery, drones, and guided aerial bombs. Last night, Odessa suffered a combined massive attack involving missiles and drones. Residential buildings, a heating main, an educational institution, and a church were damaged. The port area was also hit. Tragically, one person died because of terror, and 10 others were injured, including 2 children. Assistance is being provided to everyone in need. I am grateful to everyone involved in rescuing our people and eliminating the consequences. We are constantly defending ourselves against such Russian attacks, and we constantly need effective protection from this terror. We keep repeating that Ukraine needs more air defense systems, the capability to destroy means of terror on enemy territory, defense packages, and increased sanction pressure on Russia. So there you go. Vladimir Zelensky coming out even more, calling for more support. They need more air defenses, more pressure on Vladimir Putin. They want to be able to strike inside of Russia, have a defense package. So much that Ukraine needs right now. Here's pictures coming out, most likely from Odessa. That appears to be one of the major cities that were hit recently. Here's some damage to one of these homes, probably from a Shaheed. I believe this is from Odessa as well, as we've got video footage coming out from that area showing a building very similar to this that was destroyed. So definitely major attacks to report inside Ukraine again, especially in the city of Odessa, okay? So here's that video footage coming out now from War Translated Dmitry, November 14th. So this was being reported yesterday. It says Russian militants launched a fresh wave of drone strikes on Odessa, hitting multiple districts and inflicting significant damage to residential areas, civilian infrastructure, heating system, religious and educational institutions. The terrorist attack left at least 8 people injured and claimed the life of 1 woman. So we got 2 videos to show you guys of this building when it took a direct hit, most likely from a Shaheed drone or maybe a missile. So take a look at this. So we have definitely seen the city of Odessa coming under major attack over the last week. I've reported at least 2 or 3 major strikes on residential buildings, and we've repeatedly seen this. We got one more video coming up now.
Я ж надеюсь, там людей нету хотя бы.
Ну ты видишь жилой дом, видишь там цвет.
Я ж надеюсь, там людей нет.
So it looks like another angle of this same attack on the left side of the building now, showing this building on fire as it took a direct hit from most likely a Shaheed drone fired from Russia. Okay, so now we're going to move on to another update here from the Ukrainian Review. Center of Odessa, a 3-story building is on fire after Russian strikes. So here's a picture as well from the distance showing, I believe, this same building on fire. As somebody was able to capture this nearby. They probably heard the explosion, came outside, and saw that this building was on fire. So very sad to see this. Once again, another residential building being destroyed in the city of Odessa, as we have reported multiple times over the last week. So now we're going to move on to another update. This one is from Nexta. Zelensky urged Scholz not to call Putin. On November 15th, 2024, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz held a phone conversation with Vladimir Putin for the first time in nearly 2 years. The conversation lasted about an hour. Scholz urged Putin to withdraw his troops, emphasizing Germany's readiness to support Ukraine for as long as needed. He also insisted on the necessity of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine to achieve a fair and lasting peace. The conversation took place against the backdrop of intensified Russian attacks on Ukraine and the approach of the 3rd military winter, with much of Ukraine's energy infrastructure damaged or destroyed. The recent victory of Donald Trump in the U.S. elections and the political crisis in Germany raised questions about the future of Ukraine's support. Before speaking with Putin, Scholz discussed the situation with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and plans to contact him again after the conversation with Putin. Zelensky urged Scholz not to call Putin. It will only help Putin, reducing his isolation. Putin does not want real peace. He wants a pause, Ukrainian media quoted the president. So Vladimir Zelensky has been saying this a lot lately, that Vladimir Putin wants a pause in the war. He does not necessarily want to end the war. He wants a pause in it, so that way they can build up, their missiles and their drones and then continue to fight this war. That a pause would probably be very helpful for Vladimir Putin and Russia right now, as we've been hearing that they're losing lots of equipment. I just reported with you guys the other day that apparently the company Mosfilm, a film studio inside of Russia, apparently had to donate some of their studio tanks that they use for movies, like movie prop tanks, towards Russia's war effort. That's a big sign that maybe Russia is running out of equipment and they need replacement parts, whatever it might be. Yeah, does Vladimir Putin need a pause right now in this war? I mean, highly likely. It seems like that it would definitely benefit them, and apparently that's a large reason why Vladimir Zelensky was also unhappy with this call to Putin. And apparently it did take place today. So I want to show you guys the response from Dmitry Peskov. He is the Kremlin spokesperson. So from War Translated Dmitry Peskov reported on a phone call between Putin and Scholz. According to him, the initiative for the call name came from the German side. The leaders outlined their positions, and Scholz emphasized the need for Putin's readiness to negotiate. It appears they found no common ground. Putin continues to insist on his earlier demands for Ukraine's capitulation. So for the most part, what I understand from this is that Russia just wants to continue the goals they're already working on right now, is pushing for Ukraine's capitulation, take over as much territory inside of Ukraine. Apparently also something that was brought up during this call was Vladimir Putin telling Olaf Scholz that a large reason for this war was because of NATO to begin with, not necessarily from Russia. Now, you let me know what you think down below. Was this Russia's fault for starting the war, or was it NATO's fault? There's obviously two sides to every conflict, but many people say that Russia did not need to invade Ukraine. There was no need for it. It was unnecessary. But take a look at the Kremlin spokesman's response to this. It's 1 minute and 43 seconds long.
Кто инициатор этого разговора?
Германская сторона. Разговор состоялся по инициативе германской стороны. В этом, конечно, его важность. Происходят поиски возможных, попытки, вернее, сопоставить позиции. Политическая воля к тому, чтобы эту позицию узнавать из первых рук, это то, что, конечно, не может не вызывать удовлетворения. Но в то же время, конечно, обсуждения достаточно были детальные, прежде всего по украинскому сюжету, откровенные, как тоже было сказано у нас в сообщении. Но, конечно, говорить о каком-то совпадении мнений здесь не приходится. Поэтому, конечно, существуют достаточно глубокие разногласия, но сам факт диалога, он весьма позитивный.
И вот как раз если, сопоставить сообщения немецкой, германской стороны и сообщения российской стороны, там видно, что лидеры, в общем-то, высказали друг другу, что они думают о вообще в этом кризисе.
Конечно, да, и Путин рассказал Шольцу детально о нашем видении происходящего, о возможных перспективах развития ситуации и так далее. И Шольц возобновил свою позицию, собственно, которая хорошо известна, которая повторяется как мантра всеми европейскими представителями по нескольку раз в день.
Вот официальный представитель Кабмина ФРГ сообщает, что канцлер настаивал на готовности России к переговорам с Украиной. Россия разве не готова?
Да, эта готовность, собственно, она неоднократно повторялась. Вы знаете, июньское выступление президента, где он четко обозначил обстоятельства, которые могут стать предтечей для урегулирования этого конфликта. Вот. Все это фигурировало на повестке дня состоявшегося телефонного разговора.
Okay, so I did notice there that he said that Russia has been ready to negotiate in this war for a while now, and they're ready to negotiate even right now. But as many of us know, a large percentage of this is the fact that Russia is not going to be willing to give up the territories in eastern Ukraine. This is also something that Volodymyr Zelensky is pushing for, is to get all of his territories back, possibly even Crimea. So this is why we've also been hearing that the West is trying to put Ukraine in a strong position for negotiations before they actually start to discuss this war with Russia. But if you did notice here at one point, he says there was deep disagreements between Olaf Scholz and also Russia, showing that the West and Russia are on complete different. They have completely different views on this conflict, and the disagreements are so deep that they can't come to any agreement at this time. So it definitely is a very difficult situation, and we'll see if Russia and Ukraine can negotiate in the future, but it looks like right now the disagreements are so deep that it's going to be very difficult for them to come to a reasonable agreement for both sides to try to end this war. So it will get interesting in the future. Okay, also from the Ukrainian Review, according to Zelensky, under the Trump administration, the war will end faster. It is very important for us to have a just peace so that we do not feel that we have lost our best, but because of the injustice that has been imposed on you. The war will end, but there is no exact date. Certainly with the policies of this team that will now lead the White House, the war will end sooner. That is their approach, their promise to their society, and it is also very important to them, he said. So I thought this was very interesting coming out from Volodymyr Zelensky here, as he's coming out and saying that the war will end faster. Now, let me know what you think down below. Do you think this war will end faster under Donald Trump, or will it take some time? I mean, we have heard from Donald Trump in the past that he was going to end this war very quickly, potentially within 24 hours or a few days or something like that of him getting into office, that this would end very quickly, or even as president-elect, he's also come out and said that he would have this war wrapped up. And it does look like that Donald Trump is working very hard right now to end this war. It seems to be a very big topic for the Trump administration once they get into office, but we'll see how things go. Let me know what you think down below. Also from Max 24, Pentagon reports U.S. will send aid packages to Ukraine every week to ensure that all remaining $7.1 billion in aid is dispersed before President Biden leaves office. Here's a picture of them too right here. So this was actually reported yesterday. Looks like there's going to be aid packages going to Ukraine every single week, pretty large size ones, I might add, as $7 billion in aid is supposed to be dispersed to Ukraine before Joe Biden ends up leaving office in January, okay? So big news coming out for Ukraine. Also from War Translated Dmitry, third effing day in a row now that we're clearly clearing 4 effing streets, loads of wounded, even more of the effing dead. Russian serviceman reports of high casualties in his unit. So I apologize, there is some profanity. There will be some profanity in this video as well, but I want you guys to see this video showing a Russian soldier, part of a unit that for the most part has been obliterated, okay? He claims here, I think there's only like 3 or 4 of them left after many of them were killed and they're hiding out in some destroyed building. So take a look at what he has to say. It will have subtitles.
Ну, так вот работаем. Работаем потихонечку как-то, блядь. Третий день уже, сука, 4 улицы, блядь, защищаем. Пиздос, пацанов положили, блядь. 300-х больше, 200-х еще больше, блядь. Пизда, нахуй, не знаю. У нас вот пока 4 осталось, блядь. Хуй, где остальные наши, ничего нахуй не знаю пока. Но в любом случае, привет. Я жив, здоров. Так что все будет хорошо. Ты же знаешь. Чё? Ну, так вот работаем.
All right, pretty crazy, right? I mean, we definitely have been seeing lots of videos coming out showing that the Russian soldiers are taking massive losses. I've even been showing you guys some reports from War Translated Dmitry, excuse me. He has reported multiple times of showing written letters from some of the Russian soldiers on the front line, talking about, you know, the struggles that they go through. Lots of their friends, the troops standing next to them being taken out. And in many cases, just like this, they end up on their own. So maybe in some areas, definitely the Russians are taking some heavy losses. Maybe in other areas, not so much. But we have definitely seen a lot of this lately. Here's another video that just came out recently, just today, okay? So pretty crazy. Moving on to another update. Rockefeller, NAFO Raccoon, Ukraine can now produce 15 to 10, I think they meant 10 to 15, domestically produced long-range missiles per month, according to mass media. These would be the Neptune and Palinitsia missiles. Soon Russia is going to get a taste of their own medicine. Let's go. Okay, so we have been hearing more about this as well. I think as we move into 2025, Ukraine, if this war continues on, Ukraine will be in a much better position when it comes to using missiles. And I think they will have some to use at their disposal. They might not have a huge stockpile of them, let's say by maybe mid of next year. But looks like they will be having maybe a dozen or more of these that they could be using each month. And according to this information, 10 to 15 could be produced per month right now. So imagine moving forward, because we have heard Volodymyr Zelensky come out and report as well that they would be increasing their production of missiles. So who knows, maybe that number might jump from 10 to 15 up to 30, maybe 50 per month, depending on how much they can increase their facilities that build these missiles, okay? So also from Max 24, Russian armed forces want to capture Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region. So we've been talking about this city a lot recently. I just talked about it yesterday. By the new year, a combatant of Achilles' 92nd OSHBR. According to him, the Russians broke through to Kupiansk under the cover of fog, but they were destroyed. Okay, we talked about this yesterday. Actually, down here in the south, here's Kupiansk right here. So below Kupiansk, in the southern portion of it, the Russians at some point were trying to circle around and go behind Kupiansk, and apparently that entire unit of soldiers that tried to flank Kupiansk and go around behind were essentially destroyed. Looks like we're hearing that once again, that the Russian forces are trying to capture Kupiansk, but for the most part, what we have been hearing is Ukraine is holding out in this city so far. So let's see if Russia can capture it, because they are definitely getting close. You can see right here, they're not too far away, probably within 10 kilometers or so from Kupiansk. That's up in the Kharkiv region. Also from Clash Reports, new flamethrower FPV drone is now a thing. So guys, we've been talking a lot about these FPV drones recently. These are just small quadcopter drones, and the Ukrainians are attaching all kinds of different weaponry to these. Some of these carry molten thermite. I've seen AK-47s attached to them, even bazookas, all kinds of different things attached to them, even grenades, explosive IEDs. This one has a flamethrower now. Imagine this. Take a look at this. 30 seconds long.
Так вот мы летим. Да, вот на этой высоте. Вот так вот, ребята, идет сжигание. Отлетай, отлетай, отлетай. Все. Держи, 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 держи. Красавчик. Вот так вот. Мы, считай, сожгли дрон. Вот это поинтереснее уже будет.
Не, ну, каждому свое.
All right, pretty insane, right? I mean, like I said, we've seen Ukraine using so many of these FPV drones, attaching all kinds of weaponry to them. Now a flamethrower. You know, imagine if they use this over a trench, or maybe just to set a building on fire that Russian soldiers are inside. I mean, this thing could definitely do some major damage if it's able to get close enough to Russian troops. Now, the question about these is how much flame can these produce? Can they last for a long time, or maybe just a short burst, kind of like what we saw there? But regardless, pretty crazy to be seeing these different types of FPV drones, and Ukraine has definitely been utilizing these a lot. And if you think about it, it's very smart, because they don't have to use a soldier. This is literally just a piece of equipment, okay? So if it gets taken down, it's not a Ukrainian soldier's life, it's just a simple FPV drone. Okay, also from Max 24, wartime Ukraine could reopen a first airport in its western Lviv region next year as it tries to restore air travel that has been suspended nationwide since Russia's 2022 invasion. A senior partner at insurance broker Marsh McLennan said, according to the Reuters. So this is a big report that Ukraine could be reopening the Lviv airport in 2025. Now, we haven't really seen Lviv come under attack recently, but I want to say maybe about 2 to 3 months ago was probably one of the last attacks that we saw in Lviv. But we know that Russian missiles can target the city of Lviv, so I'm actually surprised that Ukraine is willing to do this. But could this be a sign that Ukraine is getting ready to get out of this war soon? They could be potentially preparing for that. Obviously we've been discussing that a lot in terms of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Maybe they'll be able to negotiate and end this war. And this is big news, okay? So it looks like could potentially be able to fly into Ukraine to the Lviv airport coming in 2025. All right, also, from Igor Sushko, we got 2 things left to show you guys. Russia, winter electric blackouts have begun in Moscow. 8 buildings lost electricity at the Green Park apartment complex in Ostankinsky district, reportedly due to an accident at the MSC Energo power grid. People stuck in elevators for hours. That would be absolutely frightening. Current temperature is 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So obviously getting pretty cold over in Moscow right now, right about freezing temperatures. And looks like we had some reports of blackouts, okay? Some power outages already inside of Moscow. So I'm sure, Ukraine is obviously having a big problem when it comes to energy right now. But, probably Russia is too in certain areas, especially with all these drone attacks taking place repeatedly. Definitely going to be some energy issues for the Russians as well. And this was the most recent blackout being reported just inside of Moscow, okay? So pretty crazy. Also from Banderas-Fela, Ukrainian forces are steadily reclaiming positions in the Toretsk district of Zabalka. Okay, so we actually talked about Touretsk yesterday. I showed you guys a picture of this city. It is pretty much destroyed for the most part, but heavy fighting taking place here in the city of Touretsk. This is in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. And at some point, the Russians were pushing into about halfway of this city. And then we've been hearing of the Ukrainians pushing back. And at some point, I think Russia was moved to the outskirts of this city or very close to that. And we continue to hear that the Ukrainians are fighting very hard inside the city of Touretsk right now and making it very difficult for the Russians to take it over. So more reports here. Looks like the district of Zabalka, Ukraine is reclaiming positions that were originally lost. Okay, so big update coming out from the eastern side of Ukraine as well. So that's going to be it for today's update, though, guys. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.